Good girl. Good girl, Elo. You ready for your first portage? Let's go, Elo. Let's go. This way. This way. Good enough. Just set up the tent. Elo is just chasing some bees. Aren't you, Elo? So we set up the tent here. At first I had it set up the other way, and then I flipped it around just because it's a little bit of a slope, the ground, and I want to make sure that I'm not sleeping with my head lower than my feet and all the blood rushing to my head overnight. But I think the way I have it set up now is good. The head is on that side, which is the wider end, because the tent is asymmetrical, so it's a little bit wider on one end, which is presumably where you'd put your head. So I put it there. Should be good. Opens up to the middle of the campsite. Elo is sniffing around. Elo, you're a true camper. You like the campfire. Good girl. Good girl, Elo. Can we show them your toy? No, you don't want to show your toy. Wait. 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 Take it. Good girl. Good girl. Elo, wait, 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 take it. Good girl, good girl, good girl, Elo. Ready, Ela? Elo, sit. Elo, sit. We just finished the portage from Sunday to Little Rock Lake. It's, I think 670, 650, something like that meter. Elo was pretty good for the most part. I kept her on my waist leash, so she couldn't run off. There's one or two times where she tried tugging me around just because she saw a squirrel one time. But otherwise, she kept the pace. She took the lead, went in the right direction, did good. Right now, I'm just going to check out the single campsite on the lake. I feel quite fine without my life jacket on right now, considering that we're 10 feet from shore. It's around 2 o'clock now. By the time we're done at this campsite, portage back, check out the Sunday Lake campsites, it'll probably be around 3 o'clock. And then we'll have a while to relax. So I'm on Little Rock Lake, the only campsite on the lake, and despite the name Little Rock, it's on a massive rock, the campsite. So the whole thing is one big rock-shaped slope. But from the top of the rock where the fire pit and seating is, there's lots of good seating, so that's nice. A small kitchen shelf to the side. Behind the fire pit is one small tent spot, like at most a 2-person tent. And it's sloped all around. There's like just a tiny cutout enough for 2 people. And then in front of the fire pit, lower towards the canoe landing, is a bigger tent spot. From the fire pit, it has a really nice view out onto the lake. That's definitely a plus, assuming you have good weather. There's trails all scattered around the site, but I don't know which one leads to the Thunderbox or where they all lead. But it's quite sloped all around, and I didn't walk any of the trails. But it does have a nice rocky shoreline that you can sit on to enjoy the sun, to stargaze. The biggest plus of this campsite is obviously that you have the lake to yourself. That's why people would want to camp here. It's very private and remote, despite being close to the highway and easily accessible. Go in. Go in. Go, Elo. Go in. Good girl. Good girl. Again. This way. Take the lead, Elo. Take the lead. I'm on the, what is it, easternmost campsite on Sunday Lake, the one that's not right beside the island. So this is a very small campsite, but I love it. It's perfect for a small group, and I will explain why. The canoe landing is small, but it's just a nice little chunk of rock that is smooth and low to the water, so it's very easy to pull up on. And for 1 or 2 people, it's a big enough spot to swim and stargaze and sit and enjoy the sun. Definitely not for a large group. It's a very small rock, but enough for, like I said, 1 or 2 people. The fire pit is awesome. And then it's got rectangular seating, 3 logs that create a full perimeter around the fire pit, which is plenty of seating for a huge amount of people, although it doesn't look like the most comfortable seating, but there's lots of it, and a big open space in between the logs to, you know, food and chill and whatever. And there's a couple tent spots. The tent spots aren't amazing. They're quite wavy. There isn't a large section of flat ground. And there's 2 or 3, but they're quite small when you consider how much of the ground is wavy. But for a small group, this site is awesome. The fire pit is awesome. The little piece of rock at the front is awesome. It's quite sheltered. It doesn't get a lot of sun, so it's not like an exposed scenic site, but it's a nice sheltered site for a small amount of people. I'm on the campsite right across from the island on Sunday Lake. It's another very small campsite. It's got, the canoe landing is really bad with the current water levels, but you can see it's a sandy bottom just a couple inches below, meaning that when the water levels are a little bit lower, then it would be a nice sandy beach landing. But right now they're not good. Once you get into the site, there's an okay fire pit with 1 log of seating in front of it. Not really ideal for a large group, and the fire pit is right at the tip of the campsite, so it's exposed to wind from multiple directions. There's not much else to the campsite. It extends for maybe 20-30 feet behind the fire pit, and there's about 4 or 5 tent pads. There's one small one directly beside the fire pit, like a foot beside the fire pit. There's one a couple of feet, maybe 5 feet from the fire pit, right at the water edge, and that one's big enough for 2 to 3 people. There's about 2 more a little bit further back, and then there's one big spot behind the fire pit, maybe 10 feet behind the fire pit, and that's where most people would probably pitch their tent. You can probably fit 2 or 3 small tents or 1 really large tent in that space. It's right across from the island, so no privacy. There's no rocky shoreline to enjoy the good weather or stargazing. There's really not much good about it. It's got all the shelter and essentials that you need, but there's nothing that would make you recommend the site to anyone. It's probably the last site that would be taken on Sunday Lake. I'm not a fan of it, and it would be the last one that I would recommend for Sunday Lake. Oh, she's drifting away. She's drifting away. Don't worry, Elo, I'm coming for you. Coming for you, Elo. I got you. And we're home. Was that a fun adventure for you? Okay, we can take your leash off because we're on an island. Okay, now you can have fun. You know, you can go up if you want. You don't have to wait for me. Oh, look at this bad boy. Elo told me that she wanted to give you guys a tour of the campsite, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay. This is the canoe landing. Right now it's not that great, but you can tell that if the water level was a little bit lower, there would be exposed beach and a little bit more rock to pull up on. If the water level was a lot higher, then it would just go straight into the roots here. The front of the campsite has a whole bunch of exposed rock, like this and this. So you can see it's really great for sunbathing, stargazing, swimming, lounging. Elo seems to enjoy the rocks. Come on, Elo. The fire pit itself is good. I actually really like this, but there's no seating. Like there's a ledge down there. Oh, Elo got her toy. There's a ledge over there to sit on, but that's obviously quite far from the fire, so you need to bring your own seating. There's a man-made table here. This is what the campsite looks like, with the dog running around. This is where I decided to pitch the tent. It's the obvious spot. It's quite large, a little bit sloped, so you just got to be a little cognizant of where you're pitching the tent. Look at that big word, cognizant. I pitched my tarp right over the tent so that if it's raining in the morning when we wake up, that we can get out of the tent and stay dry and scout the surroundings. And gear is just going to be either in the vestibule or just right beside here, which is still covered. So yeah, tarp setup nicely done around the tent. There's a few more spots down there. It's a very small exposed island. Thunderbox is this way. I'll give you the quick walk around. So if you walk through here, you can see the thunderbox there. This way, because there's a rock that Elo loves going swimming from, but she eats all the lily pads. So this is for the sunrise and morning sun. You can come here and relax. Elo, come on. Yeah, it's a very small island. You can walk around the whole thing in a couple seconds, really. Maybe 30 seconds or a minute to do a lap. And we're back. You can do some tents up here if you need to. Looks like it would be difficult to peg down because there's a lot of rock. You got to put out the fire. You can't leave fires like that. It's going to cause a forest fire. Good girl. Good girl. So that's the campsite. It's by far the nicest of the three on Sunday Lake. The other two are very small. They're not bad, they're just very small. And this site's a beautiful site. If you don't mind the fact that it's right by the highway, so you definitely hear the noises of the highway. I heard the boats from Opiongo, I believe it's from. I heard a couple sirens earlier. Not loud, but it's definitely audible. If you don't mind that, it's no worse than the squeaky going on. Then yeah, then it's an amazing site. Alright, that's it for the campsite review. I'm gonna go play with Elo for a bit. You tired, Elo? We've had a long day, haven't we? Alright, Elo? Sleepy girl? We had a long day. We were in the car for 3 hours. Got here, portaged down, came to camp, set up camp for an hour or two. Got on the water, portaged into Little Rock Lake. Went to check out that campsite. Portaged back here. Checked out the other campsites on Sunday Lake because they were both empty. And came back to our campsite, did some firewood. She ran around, chased some squirrels. But she is pooped now. That's one tired cattle dog. See how she sleeps in the tent for her first time. I brought her in the tent on a front lawn just to get her comfortable with the environment and being in there, but she never actually spent the night. It wasn't pitch black and she didn't actually sleep there, so we'll see how she does. I think she'll do great. She's awesome, aren't you, girl? Aren't you, Elo? Aren't you awesome? Oh, that's the leave me alone, isn't it? That's the leave me alone face, isn't it? I'm not gonna leave you alone because you're cute. Elo. It's dinner time on Sunday Lake. I'm making some Jamaican style jerk rice and beans with chicken from Backpacker's Pantry. It's the flavor I never decide to have, so I have 5 of them sitting in my cupboard, so I figured it's about time that I at least try it. Elo has been waiting very patiently for her dinner. I'll give you a quick little tour of the food for what was supposed to be a 3-day trip. So I have my fuel and stove, which is folded up in there. A little coffee cup, which is also good for measuring. Cook set, there's just 2 pots in here that stack within each other, and inside I put a hand towel. Some bear paws, because I didn't bring my normal fresh banana bread, which is normally a staple for me. A little garbage bag. This is Elo's food. This is Elo's food. I brought some peanut butter as a snack for her. But she's eaten enough stuff off the ground that I don't think she's going to get the peanut butter today. Just a couple marshmallows for fire. Lara bars. Bagels. Breakfast. Trail mix. Candy, which is the most important item, along with banana bread and whiskey. What else? And then I got the other meals, a bowl for Elo. Yeah, it came to, I think like 2,500 calories per day, which considering I'm just on Sunday Lake and, oh, there she goes. Elo, where's the squirrel? If this dinner isn't good, I'm gonna need squirrel. Anyways, as I was saying, it's about 2,500 calories per day, which for this type of trip is more than enough. If it was like a normal, tougher trip with multiple portages and hours on the water every day, then I usually aim for about 3,000. But for trips like this, 2,500 is perfect. And Elo I brought for a normal amount of food. And then this was going to be the excess calories for the extra calories that she's burning. Off to find the squirrels. Elo, stay. 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 Take it. Good girl. Good girl, Elo. Good girl. One-handed goon stroke. Not bad, keeping the boat going. Straight line. While this cutie rests. Did you get it, Elo? I think you got that fly. Oh my god, Elo, that's gross. It is no longer Sunday on Sunday Lake. It's now Monday morning, day 2. And I'm chilling in the tent with Elo. It's about 6:30. We woke up like half an hour ago. I was up at like 4 o'clock and couldn't fall back asleep. And then at around 6 o'clock, I decided to get out of the tent and watch the sunrise. We watched the sunrise for a bit. Elo chased some squirrels and chipmunks. Had some breakfast. Took me on the barrel. Now we're going to come pack up the tent. Lie down for a couple minutes, pack up the tent, pack up the gear. It's supposed to start raining at, it says like 30 to 40% from now until 1 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock is when the storms start. Either way, I would like to have the tent and tarp packed up before any rain starts so that it can stay bone dry when I put it away. I've got another trip coming up this weekend actually. And it would be nice to have dry gear and not have to worry about setting it all up to let it dry and air out in the city. So that's the plan. We're going to pack up the tent and then get going. Right, Elo? Good girl, Elo. Good girl. Well, I'm working on the tarp. Elo is playing with her campfire toy. We made it. We were at the portage from Sunday Lake up to the car. Elo is tethered to a root with the waist leash so that she doesn't run off while I got all the gear sorted. Got the canoe here, all the gear there. A lot of gear for one night, but I knew that, we weren't traveling far, and I brought a lot for Elo. So that's the gear. This is like the worst portage landing in the history of portage landings. It's just root with a straight drop of like 2 feet. Anyway, so gonna get loaded up, do the portage, gonna do it in 2 carries, and then we'll be at the car, strap the canoe in the car, and head home. We're going straight uphill. Parking lot was full yesterday. Now I'm the only car. That's quite the climb for 8:30 in the morning with a canoe, a barrel, and camera gear, and a dog attached to my hip, literally speaking. We're in the car now, just finishing the trip. I had a great time. What about you, Elo? Did you have a good time, Elo? I think she did. Yeah, Elo, I think, loved the trip. She was so excited the whole time. Loved it. But for the most part, she was like super, super well behaved. Didn't make a sound. I don't think she barked or whined